Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Virtual Coffee with Francois. Thank you very much for joining me and for being here this morning. It's a very interesting day. Since yesterday, it's been very cold here in Krugersdorp, which is in Joburg. For those of you that don't know, that they don't usually come up north of the Vaal River, but it's quite cold and it's raining. It feels like it's in the middle of winter. So very interesting what's going on at the moment. I hope that you have brought your coffee or your tea or even some other beverage of choice like soup or something. Anything is welcome here, as long as you enjoy it with me. Thanks again for being here. It's now day 14 in a row. Can you believe that? So since we started this 2 weeks ago, it's been 2 weeks already. So thank you very much for all the support and for everybody that's here day after day. For those of you watching the recordings afterwards, etc., thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope to keep doing this for as long as possible. The idea is to keep going until the lockdown finishes. And I don't think I'll stop after that. It may just change maybe from a daily video then to a weekly one, depending on how things are going, just as we get back to normal. So the whole idea behind this session is to give you some normalcy, a place to come and spend some time in the morning, to have some form of a routine, something to get up for. And so that's what this is about. And I'm really just here to help and to serve and answer questions and just help as far as possible. That's all about that I can do at this point in time. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I want to see, a lot of people are saying that on LinkedIn they find it hard to find the actual live stream on there. So I'm going to try and share this out as well. So I'm just going to share it quickly so that I don't. Yeah, it's not as cool as YouTube actually, unfortunately yet. I know they're still working on the live stream. But it'll be great if, there's a link before the time that you can share out and say, this is the link where you will be able to find this live stream on this day at this time. That'll be fantastic, LinkedIn. If anybody from LinkedIn is eavesdropping and watching what we're doing, then that'll be cool. Alrighty, so welcome back. Let me see quickly. There's already a number of comments on LinkedIn saying good morning. Morning, Johan Vosloo, Shlanganani, Neil Phillips, Tedden Stoben, Razan. Bronwyn, the first time I've seen you here, or the first time that you've said hi, but welcome. Welcome. Neil says it's a beautiful sunny day in Cape Town. Is the sun up already in Cape Town? I thought it only came up like at 10 or 11. Kobus Klein back again. Thank you. Good morning. Yes, you're right, Kobus. Iron Man can't feel the cold at all. Chart van der Walt. Good morning, Chart. It's the first time I've seen you here. Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If you're over on YouTube, then please say hi in the comments. If you've got any comments or questions during any of the live streams, or even if you're watching the recording afterwards, please, you can still comment. I will still get back to you and answer questions. But if you do it during the broadcast, then I can answer them as we go through. And also the community is welcome. You can answer one another and share what it is that you're doing, because that's really what I'm trying to create, is a place for people to come together, but for like-minded individuals. So this is a group where we're all we're in the same boat, we're rowing in the same direction. We're trying to get, to a better place after this. We're trying to get through all of this together, and we're here to make a difference. That is really what this is about. So if that's you, then it's great to have you here. And please, engage with other people that are here this morning as well. So please, YouTube, say hi if you're there. I can see there's some people on YouTube here. So I just can't see who you are. So please say hi so I can say hi to you as well. Today we talk about cyber risks. And, when I was sort of thinking about a topic for today, I've got that long list of things. And you look at it, when you write them down, it seems like these are great ideas until you what do I need to talk about next? That is a much harder decision to make. You can have a list you can have a list of 1,000 things. To choose the next thing to talk about will still be hard. And also, I know if you've got the more choices you have, the more difficult it is to make that choice or that decision. Part of the game. So this cyber risk, cybersecurity thing has been there on the list since day one. and I've been wanting to talk about it, I just couldn't get my mind around the sort of format that I want to, and to what level, because it can get very technical, and that's absolutely not what I want to do. So I decided to go the other way, sort of talk about cyber risks. I'm going to give you some interesting stats, and then look at what are the most common ways that we get attacked. And is it really an issue for us? Is it an issue in South Africa? What are other people saying? What's happening? And what are some of the solutions maybe that one could look at if this is something that you are concerned about? That's what today is going to be about. And then in between, please ask your questions, anything. It doesn't even have to be only related to cyber risks and that. Good morning, Ian. Ian McMaster is back for some more today. Good morning, super relevant topic. Yes, Ian, thank you very much. Good morning, Arun. It's the first time I'm seeing you here as well. Good morning, welcome. Nice to have you here. So, and thanks for saying hi. I really appreciate it. So here we go. Let me just get some of the things here on the screen that I want to show. So obviously, I guess when we start, the first question to ask is, but what is cyber risk really? Again, it's one of those things where a lot of words are used interchangeably. So cyber risk, cyber security, cyber, when somebody hears cyber, they think of movies, etc. So, what does it really mean? And I think for me, in the simpler, and you can go and Google this, obviously. All the answers are on Google, but in the simplest form, the way that I would explain it is that, it's the chance or the probability then, if you want, but it's definitely the chance of you or your business suffering loss or harm because of a breach of your technology systems. So it's typically information that resides on a system, be it on a computer or a server or in the cloud somewhere, and the chances of somebody getting in and stealing that information, or not only stealing the information, but then using that information, that's where the harm part and the loss part comes in. Apart from all the damage that one could suffer if you lose the customers because they trust us with that information. And once that happens, there's unfortunately a breach of trust as well. So this is a bigger risk, I think, than what most people think. But yeah, and what I'm talking about really also with cyber risk is you're not only talking about the cloud. You're not only talking about your desktop or your laptop or any of that. You're also talking about, and think about this, I don't know how many of your staff can connect to your business Wi-Fi with their phones, their personal phone. So it's not a business phone, it's their personal phone. Or they have a tablet, or, so it's any kind of device that can connect to the internet, to sum it up really. Those are the kind of things where there's a possibility for someone to get in and to get some of the information. And they only need one in. It's like your house. If somebody breaks into the house, they only need to get into one window somewhere or break open one door somewhere, and they're into the entire house. So it's exactly the same, when it comes to our systems and our networks, etc. And I think the biggest mistakes that we make is that we think that because we're small, nobody's going to look at us. Nobody's going to try and hack us. Nobody's going to try and breach our system. And that's where you make the mistake. There's so many kids out there, that's trying to learn hacking, that will, for the fun of it, come and park outside your office and try and hack your Wi-Fi, because that's just, it's what they do. So there's lots of things that we don't consider. We always think about these big crime organizations, which is the biggest problem in the world when it comes to cybercrime. But we think about those things. We don't think about, what's happening right here under our noses. Or when somebody has a device, for example, a phone, and the kids play with that phone at home, and they go into all sorts of places that looks like a funny cat talking, and there is then some malicious software that gets installed on that machine. Once that phone connects to your network, suddenly they get access. And if you read all the stories, there's and when was it? 2 years ago already. Time flies. When I spoke at the FA News, they had a breakfast thing on, and I spoke about social media there. But there was another lady talking about cybercrime and cyber risks and cybersecurity. The things that she was telling us was like, when you walk out of there, it's like, you just want to throw your phone in the bin. So that's not what I want to do today. I don't want to. This is not about scaring anybody or making you fearful about technology or anything like that. It's like we need a house to live in. We need to make sure that house is secure. It's the same thing with our technology. So those things are really, really important. But let me share with you some interesting stats. And obviously, I'm going to read them off because I can't remember them all offhand. But in the last Alliance Risk Survey, they found that the biggest or the most important business risk, according to the survey in South Africa, is cyber risk. That is the number one. And you know what the interesting thing is, if you look at where it ranked only seven years ago, so what was that, 2013, it ranked 15th on the list. What they do with the Alliance Risk Survey is that they look at what are the risks that businesses are most concerned about every year. And in the last 3 years, 4 years, in fact, with including the latest one, cyber risk has come up number one, with almost half of the participants saying that this is their biggest concern. So it's moved up from number 15, only a mere 7 years ago, to number one. And my thinking, and the reason why I thought talking about cyber risk is going to be very topical at the moment is because there's so many more people now going online. We're working online, we're talking to people. When we did the session on Zoom, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's so important that communication must be encrypted. And you can see that Zoom has got encryption built in. So encryption means that when I say something, it gets scrambled, and when it gets to your side, it gets unscrambled, pretty much like your DSTV. I don't know if you still have DSTV, but your DSTV signal, you need a decoder in order to view what it is that they're sending. So they're encrypting that message in between the two devices so that somebody can't intercept that message and the conversations and everything. And those are things that we don't think about. When big companies come out with software, we just simply trust it. And I'm going to share you some stories from my own experience, things that happened to me, where I also thought I'm okay, and I clearly wasn't. So I'm going to share those stories with you as well as we go through. Cyber risk is also in the top 3 risks in most of the bigger countries or the more developed countries, but even third world countries. So you look at in the top 3 risks for Austria. Isn't that where Arnold Schwarzenegger is from? I think so. Yeah, I'll be back. Okay. Belgium, France, India, Spain, Sweden, the UK, the US. It's in the top 3 risks. So these are things that the biggest mistakes we think, as I said before, is that we don't think that that's going to happen to us. And it happened to me. So I'm going to share that story with you and tell you a bit more about what happened. But this is one of those things. I mean, what the biggest thing is about cybercrime is that it doesn't have a face. It doesn't have a name. You have no clue who's doing this to you. You have got no clue where they're from. So there's no borders. They can be doing this from Iceland somewhere if they wanted to, as long as they've got internet and they can infect you. And even if they don't, they can just have a website that is set up to actually infiltrate your systems. So these things are really, really a reality, and it is things that we must consider and things that we cannot just ignore. It doesn't matter how big or small your business or your practice is. Then also a big thing, and I'm going to talk about, what is the biggest sort of threat, or where does most of the threats come from? But it was found, I can't remember now who did the survey, but they said that 1 in 214 emails that was sent was spear phishing attacks. So not spear, like spear phishing. And I'm going to talk about the different kinds of attacks that we need to deal with in a second. My question to you at this point is, have you ever, you can just say yes or no. You don't have to share the story right now. But, have you ever fell victim to this? Or do you know somebody that's fell victim to cybercrime, whether it was phishing or ransomware or any of those kind of things, but anything that came through their computer, basically, where they lost money or their identity was stolen? Do you know someone, or has it happened to you? So just say it happened to me, or I know someone. I would be really keen to see that in the comments on both on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Let me see. Kobe says, as long as you are registered, you get it every morning at exactly 8 a.m. I do not think you can share a link per se. Yeah, once I go live, there is a share button here. So I did click on the share button. The thing is, I just don't have the time to copy the link and do a proper post, or go post it in the image, for example, that I share in the evening. or send it out on WhatsApp, because otherwise you've got to sit here for 5 minutes and watch me do that. And the other thing I don't want to do is go live, before the time to do that, because then I need to edit the videos again, and I'm trying to save time in the process. So it's having that balancing. Thanks, Kobus. Serena Button, good morning. Bronwyn, thank you for the welcome. Yes, first time here. Well, I'm very happy to have you here. I hope you've got your coffee or tea or whatever your choice is. First time live, but listen to recordings. Thanks, Chart. I appreciate it. Renee, welcome back. And Chart says yes himself. Chart, I feel with you. It's happened to me as well. Neil Stradom, welcome back. Good morning. Guys, so yeah, please share with me. Do you know someone, or has it happened to you? Let me see before I move on. Neil Phillips, it's frightening to see how many attempts there have been to hack my website. Yes, I haven't even included that myself. If I must show you the stats of that, and then the question is your website, is there protection on that website? So I'm going to make a note of that so I can add that to the conversation. Yeah, it's the same with me, just trying to get to log in on my website. People trying to do things on the website and things. It's scary. So absolutely, Neil, that's a very, very true thing. Razan, good morning, Razanki. I think I did say hi quickly earlier. Certainly, I know a few. Yes, because the game you're in. Almin, know someone. Slanganani says yes. Jen, yep, me too. And you know what the best thing is? I look at these names. We are people who are technically savvy. I see myself as technically savvy. Jen, for sure, is technically savvy. I mean, there's a lot of people on here. Chart, I know, has been in technology for a long time. So it's not like we don't know, but yet we still fall victim. Lofi says yes. Gober says no, someone who was hacked. He says he saw a post yesterday on huge confidentiality issues with advisors using Zoom for client meetings and reviews. It was very negative of nature. Not sure if you saw it, but I did not agree mostly with him, as it appears the writer was pushing Uber conference web. Yes, I can tell you for sure that in the past, Zoom meetings were not encrypted, but they rolled that out a long time ago, just about when I started using it a year ago, if it wasn't even before that. But one must also just have a look at that to make sure, I know I have the pro account, and that is definitely encrypted. Whenever I go on, there's a green little lock in the top left-hand corner. But because that is something that I'm very cognizant of. Even my emails, I'm now using the encrypted, with the security certificate server, not just the normal plain server. So all of these things I've become very aware of, and I think that's the message today, is that don't just trust the services you're using. You have to do your own due diligence and make sure, is it encrypted? What level of encryption do they? You don't have to be an expert in that. Just see if it's 256-bit encryption, it's good. So you don't have to be an expert or go and study, cybersecurity and all these kind of things. It's just asking the basic questions and see whether they've got that in place, or just asking them, what security measures do you have? Have you ever asked your F&A CRM system provider what kind of security they offer? I know at work that's one of the main things that they punt, their ISO standard, as well as the level of security that they employ. The reason we use PayFast for all our online payments when people pay us for bookings, etc., is because of their banking level encryption and their banking level security. So we know that I don't keep any of your information. When you put in your credit card information or your check card information, it goes to them and it's there. It's got nothing. It doesn't happen on my side. It doesn't happen on my system. It's there where the security is at a bank level. So then I'm very comfortable, to make use of those payment systems. But we need to ask these questions because we always think it won't happen to us. It'll only happen to other people, All righty, cool beans. Let me see. There's some comments here on YouTube as well. Ian says, I think the sad thing is that if any one of us says no, I would be very surprised. I know of multiple people, unfortunately. Yes, Ian, and it's, I think on the one hand, sad as well, because we lose our natural trust that we should have in people. It makes us, it can make us cynical, and it can make us say, I don't trust this, and we also can't go like that through life. So that's sort of the negative part about this. But I'm going to share some things that we can do later on, to at least minimize this as much as possible, and you get clever. It's like you only get caught once, you don't get caught again, hopefully. And I think the biggest challenge is that, you and I get up in the morning and we don't think like, who we going to scam today? How am I going to steal today? Where I'm going to get this? How am I going to do it? We don't do that. That's not how we are focused. Yet these people get up in the morning and that is their job. They will go and have a look at, how much time am I going to spend? What is going to be my return on investment? Is it going to cost me money? And if it does, how much am I going to make back and how much and how quickly? And it's a business decision, but that is their focus. And that's the scary part. So we don't get up in the morning trying to be vigilant and trying to be all like, okay, no, I'm not going to get in. That nobody's going to catch me today. No, it's like, oh, it's such a beautiful day. Let's do this. Let's go for a run. That's what we think about. We don't think about cybercrime. Arun says it's happened to one of my clients who had to pay a ransom in Bitcoin. Yes, I'm going to talk about that in a second. So that's good old ransomware. And sometimes if you don't have a choice, then people pay. That's why it's so successful from the hacker's point of view, is the fact that people do pay because it's valuable information. And I'll tell you more about ransomware in a second and exactly how that works. Today I have my Pac-Man. So as it heats up, it shows the Pac-Man, and if it cools down, it goes away. So yeah, enjoying my Pac-Man tea this morning. I hope you're also enjoying a coffee and a tea. Let me continue with the points here. So what are the most common types of attack? And some of you have already alluded to this. There's really three that I want to talk about today. There's many. There are many. There are ways that they try and crash a website. There are where they just try and breach and get information directly. But there are other ways. There are much easier ways to get that, because the more firewalls and the more protection and that businesses have, the more difficult it is to breach those systems, the longer it might take, and maybe the less the return on investment would be. So what they would typically do is like water. They find the route of least resistance. And there are really three things that I think are the easiest way for them to get access to information, or to access your information, or use your information, or steal from you. The first one is phishing. So it's PH. So not phishing like in the Val Dam. It is phishing, PHI, and then the same as phishing. So phishing is really where you get an email. And it's always through email, I can tell you. But these days also sometimes WhatsApp or SMSs. But you get an email that is put together in such a way that it seems to come from a reputable company or a reputable source. So it may come from your bank, it may come from your insurance company, it may come from your internet service provider, it can come from, I don't know, anywhere where, there's maybe money to be accessed, usually, but it seems like this is the real deal. And it'll say, for instance, I got something like, well, not typically that. I think it's maybe more a ransomware thing I got this morning again. But in terms of the phishing, it'll say Standard Bank, for example. But then you go look at the email address and you can see, but that's not an email address. And even if they've got, it'll say, let's say, because all the emails come, let's say from support@standardbank.co.za. Then it will say support@standardbank.com, or it'll say support at Standard Bank. So they leave out an N or something. So when you read it quickly, it looks legitimate. You miss it. And then it looks legit, and then you click on it. But what would typically happen in these phishing emails is that they would send things like it looks like your account has been compromised. Please immediately change your password. Now, obviously, when you get something like that, it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? And then you don't stop and think and look at this thing and say, is this a legit email? And then you go and you click, and the moment you click, it takes you to a page that looks like this is exactly how it would look if you change your password. And they ask you for the information, and you put it in, boom, boom, boom. And then they've got your email address, the password that you've done, because they will ask you for your old password. So you need to confirm your old password and then put in the new password. It's exactly like things would work normally. And you do that very trustingly. And what happens? They've now got access to that particular account. So that's really what phishing is about. I mean, I get a lot of those. Really, I've had them on my Apple account, and don't think like things like if you've got an Apple ID or you're on iTunes and things like that, your Google Play Store. People can buy things there, and just because remember those things will go off your credit card, so they can have an app themselves which they just purchase from your, and they take money from you like that. So it's not to say that, don't think that the smaller things that maybe doesn't matter in your mind. It's not only the banks that may be an issue, but a lot of times they will say your bank. That's why the banks are sending in from SMSs and emails to say, we will never ask you to reset anything. We will never ask you for your PIN. We will never. They just don't do that. None of the cell phone companies do that. None of the banks do that. None of the companies actually should ever. And if they would say that, listen, you need to reset your password. Even if I get an email like that, this is what I would do. I would not click any link in that email. You go directly to the website. So if somebody says your Standard Bank account has been compromised, fantastic. Close the email, delete the email, go to Standard Bank yourself. Go to your browser or go to the app, log in and see if there's any issues. And then you decide if you then want to change your password, you change it there. But go directly to the source. Do not follow a link to get there, because that's how they catch you. Alrighty, so that is phishing. The next big one is ransomware. So ransomware is where you get an email, and that email has got a link or an attachment. Often it comes as, oh, here's an invoice, here's a quote. Here is I see a lot of those kind of things coming through. This morning again, I received an email like that saying a proof of payment from Standard Bank. It looks so legit, but it said confirmation and not confirmation. Luckily, some of these oaks can't spell still. But if I look at the way these emails looked years ago and versus the way that they look now, it's becoming so much harder to distinguish between the real thing and the fake thing. So for me, it's like, as a rule, whenever you are unsure, go directly to the source. But I would send this, and as soon as you click on the file or you click on the link, it installs a little program on your machine. And what that thing does is it immediately starts. It's obviously programmed to go to a specific directory first. So it'll go look for your documents. It'll go look maybe for your Dropbox, your OneDrives, those kind of things on your machine. And it will start to encrypt those files. Now, what that means is that, as I said earlier, when you encrypt something, you can't read it without the decoder. So now what they do is they say, you are now being held ransom, and you need to pay us 1 Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin or whatever. Now you know what a Bitcoin is worth. So it's usually something like that where they want some form of cryptocurrency. And they then, unless you pay that, you don't get the code to unlock your files. So if you don't have backups in a separate place that is not affected, you're screwed. Then you have to pay if that's very sensitive information. So they don't steal the information usually from your network or your machine. And I mean, imagine this ransomware thing coming into one machine and it's getting into your network and it encrypts everybody's information, even the server, because you've got access to the server. And I don't know whether the firewalls and things that people use are adequate enough to block that, but it may or may not be. So that is where we really run that risk with ransomware. I think that is the worst thing of all, because that's where they make a lot of money. It is the number one cybercrime at the moment, So yeah, we really need to be careful about what we click on. Don't just go and click. And I'll tell you where the biggest vulnerability sits in our businesses and in our personal lives and in our families' lives in terms of this. So this is where I want to share with you my story. This is exactly what happened. So it was a while back, 2013, I think, 2014. I was working here at the kitchen table on my laptop. Yes, and Dropbox kept on. At that point, Dropbox still popped up when it was doing, it had that small little yellow banner at the bottom. Whenever it updates something, it'll pop up. And I'm seeing this thing is updating and updating and updating. And I couldn't understand why that's happening. And when I clicked on Dropbox, I saw, whoa, there's all these files have been changed. So the file now, they've been renamed. So if it was, let's say, a document file, it now is some form of another file that I didn't know. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I immediately disconnected from the internet. I obviously was like, what's going on? And it took me a while to sort of get disconnected, but I disconnected. And luckily for that, because that thing can't do the encryption unless it's connected to the internet, luckily. But the problem is, as soon as you connect to the internet, it'll then do that. And the other problem was that the files that were already encrypted, they were encrypted. I could do nothing about it. Now, I was very, very lucky that the files that it starts at the top, and the files in the folders at the top were things that I haven't been using for a long time, and it wasn't sensitive things, and it wasn't important things. So I didn't really bother about that. But then I started, I went on my phone and I looked at like, what the hell is this? And then I came to like, this is ransomware. And then I got to run some software and things, and found it, and then we removed it. But that was a huge, huge scare for me. And from that day, I thought, whoa, this is something that I need to be a lot more careful of. And you know what the funny thing is, I'd never even opened any attachment because I was always very wary. Like, you can see a fake thing a mile away, usually, So I'm every single email I get, I look at it 3-4 times before I open it, unless it comes from somebody I read. And that's the other danger. When people send emails, remember, they make them look like they're from a legitimate source, but you should immediately see if this looks different from the emails you usually get from me, or it looks different from the emails you usually get from someone else or from a business or whatever. Then have a look at it. Or when they send you something they would not normally send you, that's also a cue that just double check. Because I get invoices from people I don't know. Or there's people that I know that's sending me invoices that shouldn't be sending me invoices. So then I'm very wary about it. But with that particular email, I clicked on it, and all it did was it downloaded the body of the email. I did not click any link. I did not click any attachment. There was a PDF attachment on it as well. And it still infected me because as soon as the email body loaded, it was somehow embedded in there, and it got that thing going. I think these days also all your email programs, everything has become a lot more aware of those kind of things, so it won't download things automatically. But yeah, we need to be so careful. But that's what happened to me. And since that time, I've been hyper vigilant and hyper, like, just what's the word, like blatant. I was just like really, noticing what was going on around me. Anthony on YouTube says, "More Francois, more Anthony. Thanks for being back. Great topic. He had to learn this lesson to take off malware bytes. So he installed malware bytes to save his emails a few months ago. So yeah, that is it's real, guys. There's a few people on here, and everybody's either it happened to them or they know someone. So it's really, really scary in that sense. Then the third one that is also now creeping up a lot more, and this is something that you need to be very, very careful of, is business impersonation emails. So business impersonation emails, it's similar to phishing. So phishing would come from somebody outside of your organization. So it'll look like Standard Bank or Absa or FNB or Vodacom or MTN or Apple or whatever. But business impersonation emails looks like they come from within your business, within your organization. And from that point, it's important for us to take note, like when you do get an email, because sometimes, as I said, they leave one letter out so they go register exactly the same domain name as yours, but they leave one letter out. So when you look at it, it looks legit. And the thing is that they don't just try this out of the blue. They've been done reconnaissance. They've gotten other emails from your business to see what it looks like. There's a way that they found you, whether it was a client of yours that they hacked and they could see how this works, or they hacked your accountant and they see, whatever that may be. But that's really what happens. And there was this story. I don't know if you watch Shark Tank. Oh, it's one of my favorite shows to watch. I cry about every second episode because I'm so happy for the entrepreneurs when they get a yes. I think it is so awesome. You just need that one chance in life, right? But anyway, I love it. And one of the ladies on there is Barbara Cochran. I love her. She's awesome. But that's happened to her in Feb. So what happened was that there was an email that seemed to come from her bookkeeper, or from her assistant rather, to the bookkeeper, saying that there's an invoice of $400,000 that needs to be paid for a renovation. And Barbara said herself, I mean, they interviewed her and she said, you know what, our whole thing is like, as soon as we get an invoice, we pay it. That's how we work with our suppliers and our vendors. We get it paid. So the emails seemed to come from the assistant. It went to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper then set up the payment and did everything. And then she made the payment. And then she sent a separate email to the actual email address of the assistant by chance, as far as I can gather. And then they picked up, but what is this? We don't know about it. And that's how they picked up. Now, luckily for her, because they picked it up so quickly, they were able to stop it at the bank. So somehow, even though it was an EFT payment, they contacted the bank. And because of the time it takes to be transferred, they were able to stop that. So she got her money back. But what if you don't pick it up that quickly? What if it's 1,000 Rand or 10,000 Rand? It's something that maybe you don't look at. You know, obviously $400,000 or 4 million Rand is something that you'll definitely pick up very quickly when that happens. But that's, I mean, this is also an astute businesswoman. She's got a business, that's running very well. And even they fell, because they're so into what they do, they didn't see. And they said that the email was missing one letter. So it seemed to come from Barbara's assistant to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper acted on it, made the payment, sent the confirmation back to the assistant using a correct email address. And if that didn't happen, that money would have been gone. But those are business impersonation. Now, obviously, if you're the only person in your business, hopefully that won't be. You'll hopefully know when you didn't send an email to yourself. But we need to know when we've got bigger businesses. This is something that we really need to look out for. So something that seems to come from the CEO, CFO, or something like that, that gives instructions specifically when it comes to making payments or invoices or things like that. We need to be very careful. All right, let's see. Jen saw an equally fascinating presentation by Candace Sutherland. I think it was Candace actually that spoke at the FA News. The name sounds very familiar, Jen. At the InsurTech 2020 conference recently, she put a link up and encouraged delegates to check whether they'd been pawned. Yes, to see whether your email address has been hacked and stolen somewhere, etc. As you can imagine, most people uncovered cyber vulnerabilities they'd been aware of, haven't been aware of, I guess. Check out haveibeenpawned.com. So have a look there in the comments. It's a website that you can go to. You can put in your email address. I know I've done that before. I've done that after that incident, actually. And then it will tell you if it's been compromised, which websites, etc. So then you can go and change those passwords there or close your accounts and do things like that. So thanks for that, Jen. Did you have antivirus software at the time? Yes, Neil, I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I've always had antivirus software. And I'm going to talk about that now because I learned a lot through that experience, as well as something that happened to me last year. My Terence says, my IT provider recommended Mimecast, and it has been great so far as a protection aid and also for email archiving. Yeah, particularly Mimecast is a email protection service, or email security company. So they focus on that. So that is one of the best, Terence. So great stuff. Then Neil says, thanks. How good is Avast as an antivirus? I'm going to talk about that now, chart. But I see my friend Johan Foster is all telling you, not very, unfortunately, but I'm going to talk about Avast in a second. So let's move on. I can read comments here the whole day, so let me not do that. Anyway, all right. Anybody on YouTube, if you're still there, you are welcome to participate in the conversation. Please, it'll be nice to hear some more from you. All right. So the next point is, but where is the biggest risk? Okay. And I'm trying making these conversations as simple as possible and as plain as possible. I don't think this is something where I want to get technical and use words that I myself don't understand. So for me, it's like the question is, but where's the risk? Where's the opening? If you walk around your house and you have a look at all your security that you've got around your house and you start thinking, they always say you should go look at your house from a criminal's point of view, or from a thief's point of view. Where do you see the vulnerabilities? Where do you see the openings or the things that maybe that's an easy way into my house that maybe previously you didn't think that would be an issue? You think you've got a window on the second floor that don't have any protection on it. That's okay because it's in the air. But have you seen people do parkour? They run up walls like for 4 stories, and so no, so nothing is safe anymore. Anyway. The biggest risk is really you and I, the human, the person, people. This is where it is, because we are the ones that do the clicking. Unless we click, unless we open, that thing can't do anything. So the biggest thing is with us, where we are just too trusting of everything we do. We're too curious. We're too worried that we're missing something. We too much of a haste to get things done, and that's it. So the biggest problem is you and me and our staff. It doesn't matter what business you're in. That is where the biggest risk sits, and we need to put some things in place in order to minimize that risk. Look, it's always going to happen, but it takes that one person to click a thing to have an impact on everybody around them in that same network or in that same ecosystem. So we really got to be careful about that. And then the second thing is email. Email accounts for 90% of the it's 90% of the attacks comes through email. So I've spoken about email marketing and email communication in the previous episode. So does that mean we need to stay away from email? No, it's like, they break into my house, so I'm not going to have a house. How stupid is that? It's just a case of be wary and have measures in place in order to protect ourselves and not fall victim to these kind of things. And a lot of that's got to do with knowledge and being aware of what's going on. And then also the other problem is no or insufficient endpoint protection. So that's the biggest word I will use today. But basically, it's call it antivirus software, but it's more than that. It is security software that protects all the endpoints. In other words, everywhere your network goes to. So if it connects to a phone, that's an endpoint. Every computer will be an endpoint for the network. And also those computers can be connected with one another via the network. So those are all the endpoints. So you want to make sure that it's protected there, so that it doesn't even come down. It should stay there. If there's a problem there, it should stay on that machine where it is. But we don't have sufficient endpoint protection. And this is where I want to get into the whole, we've had some questions here about Avast, and we've had some questions about antivirus software. And you know what? I've had these conversations where people say, "Yeah, my IT provider told me that the Microsoft Bitdefender or just Microsoft Defender, that's more than enough. It's proper. I don't have to worry." Yeah, okay. So I used Avast myself, the free version, I must say. I didn't have the paid version, but Avast is a Google company. It's Google owns Avast. They build Avast, they maintain Avast. That thing updated religiously every day. It was always up to date. It had always had the newest everything on there. And still the ransom thing, when the ransom thing happened, I didn't have Avast. I had some other software on, which was not registered. So that was my fault. Then after that, I started looking for things, and I got Avast. And I looked on my machine, and it removed everything, and everything was great and whatever. And since then, since 2013, I've used Avast on all of my machines in the house. So my laptop, my wife's laptop, the kids' laptops, the server, everything that I've got here in the house was running off Avast. And everything was going cool. I did regular scans. I would run scans. Nothing, everything's clean. It'll show me whether my network itself was open to threats, if something wasn't, like if my passwords were too weak and things like that. And then last year, I went to a company here in Roodepoort, and I had to do a presentation to show them sort of the options that they've got for building a learning management system. And I had to connect to their to the projector, the Proxima. But this Proxima was mounted in the roof, and it worked via Wi-Fi. So a lot of the newer projectors work like that. So meaning that I had to connect to the network in order to use the projector. And I couldn't get connected. And I couldn't understand for the life of me, why am I not getting, even I had the IT guy there, he was looking, and then he's running up and down. And eventually everybody huddled around me, and I was showing them on my laptop because I just couldn't get connected. And then he came back and he said, no, there's viruses on your viruses. Just hear that, the viruses. I almost had a heart attack when he said to me, I said to him, there's no way. There is no way. I don't click on stuff. I don't open things. I've got my antivirus. It's up to date. I run weekly checks to check that everything's fine. It's impossible. So obviously I left there, and then I got home, and then because they use certain software in their business that picked up that there's an issue, because he brought the report to me. They said that there's a virus. And I then I used that same company, so they've got a free tool that you can check your machine with. I found 36, call them viruses. I don't know what, I mean, they're different things, but 36 viruses on my machine, running a VAST for the last 5 years, 6 years, without any so-called issue. And here I'm sitting with this. So I run it on my daughter's machine. I run it on my wife's machine, and it's the same thing everywhere. Same viruses everywhere. And you know what the funny thing was? 2 of those viruses are sitting inside the Avast folder. So inside the antivirus, there are 2 viruses. I don't know how they got there. And then I did 2 things. So obviously, one, I removed Avast completely. I first cleaned the machine, removed Avast. I then installed the software, and I actually then got the paid version of that. So I bought the upper end for home use, and it's running. And it's since then, I mean, if I go to a coffee shop and I connect, I mean, I'm not even talking about these things. We don't think about this. So when you go to a Mug and Bean or a Doppio Zero or wherever you go and spend your time working, you connect to their Wi-Fi. The fact that you're putting in a password does not mean that it is safe, because anybody else who's got the password can also log in. It is the fact that this is public Wi-Fi, and anybody on the network can see your information on your machine unless you are stopping them from doing that. So what the software is doing now is like, whenever somebody connects to that, it's happened to me twice, but every time somebody connects to the network, it'll give me a notification to say, oh, this device connected, blah, 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 blah. And then twice it happened where it said to me, somebody's trying to access information on your machine. It's been blocked. And this is what's happening, whether they connect with their phones or their tablets or their computers or whatever. We don't think about those things as risk because I put in a password to connect to that Wi-Fi. That's not what it is about. But anyway, so since then I've been using that with a lot of success, and that is now the software that I definitely advise people to look into and to get, because it didn't slow down my machine, it didn't slow down anything. I don't even know it's there, but it protects the hell out of my network and my PC. So I'm very, very happy with that. So how can we then minimize the risk? Well, the first thing is we need to train ourselves, but also to train our staff. When you train your staff and we create awareness around this, that is where it makes a big difference. And people are just more vigilant. That's all. It's like, when you come home, look around. Don't just open the gate and drive into your driveway, because maybe there's somebody's trying to hijack you. So do the same thing with regards to your technology. We have to be thinking about, how can we be safe? If you're not sure, go and ask someone what they think before you just open something. And from that point of view, so that's important. And then the second thing is that you must invest into a reputable and appropriate security software. So reputable is most important. Just because it's a well-known brand doesn't make it reputable for your needs or appropriate for your needs. So you also need to go look at, does it provide the level of security that you need and that you want? So look into that. And then also I would think, I know nothing about short-term insurance as far as cyber risks are concerned. I was thinking last night somebody on LinkedIn said to me they've got a lot of information and they've been a short-term broker all their lives, so I know them well. So I will maybe see if I can get him on the show. I'll just see if that will be befitting. But then we can maybe talk about the different kind of insurances for our practices. Maybe we can talk about other things. I don't know if that's something you would like to talk about. But you can also get insurance because, once you've got a breach, it's going to cost you money if you lost people's information or they stole money from you or those kind of things. So looking at getting insurance is another way of minimizing your risk. But having the insurance is no protection against the actual event happening. I would much rather prevent that event from happening at all because of the damage it can do to my reputation. Insurance is not going to fix your reputation and your brand when that happens. Alrighty, so let me see while I'm looking at the comments. Let's see. Never type banking details in the body of an email for clients to pay, e.g. Alan Gray. Always attach the provider's PDF with details. A state agent lost 800,000 by having her email intercepted and banking details changed. Wow, that's a powerful one, Neil. That's important. Okay. You answered Chad. He said Francois is probably going to tell a story relating to this shortly. There are much better SME security solutions available than Avast. Definitely, I can promise you that. Then also, Terence says, use a VPN, people, on any public network. Yes, use a virtual private network. That's what VPN stands for. Shlanganani says, thank you, Terence. And then Neil, all advisors should have this cover on their PI cover. Yes, because it's a selection you make, right? It's not there by default. I think you need to select it. So important. So when you have that kind of cover, you need to do that. So the next question, I've actually run this ahead maybe, but I have antivirus software installed, so I'm not worried. I've got protection. So I want to talk just quickly about free versus paid. There are always like either a free trial available, or there are software that is completely free. And for me, when you don't pay for something, there's a reason that thing is free. I mean, that business can't exist unless they make money somehow, somewhere. So what you will usually have is there is a tier that gives you free protection, but the things you actually want and need will be in the paid level. I can promise you that. I've experienced that. I've seen that. And I've changed, as I said, our licenses and the software that we use based on that. So you must have the right level of protection and then be willing to pay for that. I mean, for really great endpoint protection, you're looking at, for up to 10 devices, around 5,500 Rand for the year. So it's not ridiculous, for a small business to be able to do that. So one would have to go and have a look at what is available, what are your needs, what is your setup, what kind of information you have, what level of security do you really need, and then you make a decision around the software that you're going to do. Also, there's a big difference between whether you're using this for your personal use or you're using it for business use. So you must also decide, if this is for business, I will definitely get the next level up from personal and from home use. Particularly if you've got really sensitive information, etc. Get that business level, and I'm not saying there are solutions for small businesses, there are solutions for medium businesses and for large corporate businesses. So don't go for the corporate thing if you've got a small business. But just get the right tool for the job. That's important. And then a point, getting back to what Kobe said earlier, that some people said about Zoom, is that, you have to be careful with your emails. That email that was intercepted that Terence, mentioned in the comment there, that is because they are using the normal SMTP server that is not encrypted. So you get there's different ports, okay? So you have one with an SSL certificate or TLS certificate, and you have one without it. So back in the day, we only had the ones without it, and most people's emails are still set up to use the one without it. So you need to change your email servers, and it's nothing you have to, it's there. Your service provider offers it already. You must just ask them, what is the correct configuration if I want to use the encrypted server, to send my mails and to receive my mails. That's what you need to do. That's where people fall short. So they don't know about these things that they need to do and change and update in order to remain as secure as possible. So while you on here, please, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. And even if you're on LinkedIn, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. You also get notifications there. There's more content coming to YouTube as well. So please, if you want to support, please do that, and also like the live stream so that people can see it. If you're watching the recording, please like the videos. It helps us get out there, and that'll help me tremendously. If you can do that for me, I will be very, very grateful. And so I don't know. Let me see what other comments there are. Neil, at the risk of sounding like a know-it-all, go for it, brother. The Apple ecosystem is generally seen as an all-round more secure option as the Windows Android ecosystem. Apple as a company is seen in the industry as one of the most security and privacy-minded large technology companies in the world. Disclaimer, I'm a big Apple fan. I'm also a big Apple fan. I approve this message. So this is Johan Vosloo saying this. Sorry, he said it to Neil. So Johan, sorry, go for it. I approve your message, may I just say. Francois, Jen, Terence, any specific product recommendations? In terms of the antivirus, I go for ESET. So ESET has got endpoint protection. So on the home front, you can do internet security. That's the level 1 that you want to go for. And then on the business, on the endpoint protection side, that's more your business level things. There you can choose between the small, medium, and large business kind of protection that you want. And everything there can be managed remotely. So there's a lot of things you can do on the business version that you can't do on the home version. But the home version is more than adequate if you want to protect everything at home and have your basic protections in place. But it's still, if I say basic level, it just means you don't have advanced features, but the protection is top level. So ESET is my preferred company that we use. Yeah, so if you need any help with that, you can contact me and we can sort you out with that. Cool beans. Alrighty, so that's sort of my story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. It'll be cool to hear your comments further about, how did you experience this and what was it like? Was it valuable to you? And then let me know what else you want to talk about. Thank you very much, guys. I've really had a couple of LinkedIn messages and a couple of WhatsApps and emails of people, saying that I think this will be a great topic and that will be a topic. But I need more of those, please, if you can help me with that. I really want to bring you information and things that are valuable to you and that can help you in your business, yeah. So as I said, next week, Tuesday, I've got a lady on the show that has been working remotely for years. She's managed teams remotely for years. She's been managed remotely for years. Yeah, we're going to talk about, how do you, this new work from home experience, it's different. Working remotely is one thing, but working from home is something else, because remotely could be at Mug and Bean, but working from home, it's a different story. There's a lot of things here that we need to consider. We're going to be talking about all of that on Tuesday. I don't know what Tuesday's date is. I think it's the 7th. So we're definitely going to be doing that. And so I would, so look out for that one. Remember, I'm going live every day. So even on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I'll be here. I'm going live again. So please remember to join me. Put us in our diary. Let us be there every day from 8 until 9. Let us kickstart your day for you, and come and join sometime. Today was really interesting, and I'm really happy with all the comments on LinkedIn and the engagement that's there. I've got Linda Erasmus. My company provided interim MS Teams. Any risks involved that I should be aware of? Linda, not that I'm aware of. I'm busy looking into Teams because I'm doing work for one of the large insurers at the moment. I'm not a Teams user myself. Yesterday I was on a call with MS Teams with somebody, but usually it's Microsoft. I'm pretty sure that they will also have encryption and that. But I will be looking into MS Teams and maybe do a session on that. But I don't have an answer. If somebody else has got an answer, please, if you can help Linda out, that'll be cool. ESET, one word chart. So ESET, just like you typed it there, ESET.co.za. So you can go check them out. Guba says, well done. Keep us socially interacting while we are social distancing. Yes, we'll do that. Good question, says Chart to Linda. But yeah, I don't have the answer for that, unfortunately, but I will get the answer. Bronwyn, thanks, was very informative. We'll definitely come back again. Look forward to Tuesday's session. I work from home, so that will be one of the great interests to me. Thank you very much for that. I'm also looking forward to that. I've been working from home for a long time, but I thought, let me get somebody to come and talk to you that has been all over the world while doing this. I think there's a lot more to learn from that, maybe from me. Neil and Linda, everybody says thank you. Great value. I appreciate it. Let me just see. Arun is asking a question here. Francois, can you cover digital signatures in a future session? Yes, we are. I've had some great feedback from Neil Phillips. He's given me some information. I've contacted some people. I'm still waiting. We are going to have a session on digital signatures, definitely. So that is something that will be happening soon, Arun, I hope. But I will definitely let everybody know before that happens. Cool stuff, guys. Then thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I wish you a wonderful day. Enjoy the rain. Enjoy the cold. Be grateful that you're alive and that we are here to be able to do things. I really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day.